cycle repeats itself. Wake up. Actually, no, I guess today was a little funky, so my whole little bit just got thrown off. No, so this morning, instead of waking up and doing my cardio before class, I hit my alarm. Like, I stood up, turned it off, and then like a fool, I just went back to bed instead of staying awake. So instead of doing my cardio before class, I woke up like 20 minutes before I had to leave. So I'm like, shit, what are you gonna do? Did my first class and then did my cardio afterwards. Well, I guess it's not even a scenario in which you're like, okay, I'm gonna there is a difference. There's a tangible difference between skipping cardio and not doing cardio at all. So for me to not do my cardio this morning and just go about my business, probably wouldn't change much in the long term on my progress, considering I do it normally. So to skip it once in a while, you know, I'll be real, it's not going to kill you, right? You probably won't even make a difference. You know, if you do your cardio even every other day, it's probably relatively similar results to every day. Not as good, but probably not too far off. So to never do it at all, much different. But enough of the cardio rant. We're not talking about cardio right now. We're talking about the lift. So class, whatever random ass responsibilities you got to deal with, and then there should be a specific time where you're like, all right, let's get freaking hyped up. Let's put my gym clothes on. Let's take the pre. Let's freaking roll. And ideally, regardless of whatever fucking shit you've had to deal with or not deal with that day, right? Just try to translate it into hyping yourself up. Oh, dude, today was sweet, super chill, and now I get to lift. Oh, this is great. Or, you know, insert situation where you're just absolutely fucking pissed about something, you know, whatever. You insert your own situation. No, fuck that. All right, come on, you know, like the enlightened lifter can just convert any fucking any external input into internal hype. You know, that's the fucking real way to go about it. You know, because if you just rely on feeling like in the zone and in the super good mood, then sure, you'll have good lifts when you're in the mood to, you know, but how often, well, what percentage of your days when you go to the gym are you absolutely fired up every fucking time? You know, if you can kind of take responsibility for like lining your whole fucking life up around the gym, then probably pretty often. Like for the most part, all my lifts, I'm always freaking hyped up. But that's because I'm a fucking maniac and I make it like the #1 priority of my day. You know, I'm not gonna act like that's a totally normal way to go about it. So, you know, if I'm ever sick or whatever, or tired or something, or I had to deal with some shit, I'm still gonna lift, right? Just get through it. But I would rather try to somehow, you know, rewire my brain to make myself more hyped up rather than all gloomy or whatever. So, apart from just generalized lifting vibes, you know, what are we about to freaking do? Back and rear delts and some calves at the end. So, back, I kind of feel like I want to recreate the last back day that I really liked, where what I did was I started off with really heavy pull downs and then did some light squeezing rows, and I really squeeze, like really try to pull my shoulder blades together in the back. Something about a combination of alternating between those two gave me a sick pump. So I think I'll take some themes from that one, but also I'll just kind of have to see how I feel, you know, like let's say I do a couple sets of lat pull downs for my warm-up. You know, obviously I'll sit on the cables for a little bit, warm up my lats, my traps, a little bit of rear delts, some forearms, right? Everything that's going to come into play in the working sets that I'm about to do. That's why before chest I warm up my triceps, my shoulders, my front delts, because even though I'm hitting chest, there's still secondary muscle groups that are getting activated, and if they're not really warm and you're really pushing the weight, I mean, you could kind of tweak something that you're not even hitting. You could tweak your forearm benching if it's not warm. You can definitely destroy your shoulder benching if you're well, if you couple not being warm with also potentially poor technique. But, you know, pull downs, rows, there really isn't anything else to do for back, right? Even though it is a little bit of a complicated muscle because you can hit it in a couple of ways. You know, I know there's your lats and your traps and your teres major and your rhomboids. So your back is pretty complicated. It's got a lot of shit going on. But really, you know, when you do some rows, you're hitting most of your mid upper back, plus you're hitting your lats too. When you do pull downs, it's a little bit more lat biased. Well, actually it's a lot more lat biased, but you get the drill. So no need to overcomplicate it. Like, I would never do a movement where I'm really like, I guess this is kind of not true, but I'll just say this. I wouldn't do a movement where I'm like trying to target my teres major. You know, like that little kind of eyeball looking muscle behind my rear delt, right? I'm gonna do a movement where I'm just targeting kind of a specific area of the back. Like pretty much upper back, mid back, lats. That's pretty much all you've got to work with. Now, in terms of upper back with like direct trap work, I haven't really done too much for a while, just because my traps are, you know, they're well balanced. Just by doing rows or lateral raises, your shrugs, your traps should get a pretty solid amount of activation. So I would never be concerned about my traps like getting weaker from not hitting them directly with shrugs. But I used to do shrugs in the back routine when I was smaller, and I wanted to, you know, build them up specifically because they had room to grow. So behind the back barbell shrugs, I liked just standing dumbbell shrugs, you know, whatever. So for mid back, I think I'm getting a little bit too complicated. How about this? We'll see what gets done. We'll freaking see what gets done. So after a little bit of a warm up on the cables, let's just jump to the first set of pull downs. I know I'm definitely going to start with pull downs. Slight change of plans. I was getting ready to just throw the whole stack around on pull downs, but when I was sitting here just kind of like, I mean, just fucking being weird, just like flexing my lats while I'm waiting for a machine, my left one felt like slightly funky. And I remember I felt a little something on it on my last back day from doing really heavy pull downs. So it kind of feels like the beginning of a potential issue. So rather than exacerbate it by trying to throw the whole stack around and maybe pulling something that I like just maybe barely started to pull, I think I'll be a little more conservative, start with single arm pull downs with this stack. Now it's got a bunch of pulleys, so even though it's the whole stack, this is not in the same feat of strength. This is a weight where I can control, and I'm really going to try to squeeze it. So I think 2 sets here, and then, you know, I'll go from there. Oh, fuck. Okay. So that wasn't really a set until like absolute mechanical failure, since it was more of a lighter squeezing set. So really it was kind of just reps until satisfaction. Like in my mind, I thought that's good. So one more like that, and then some rows. Okay, that's a solid opener. All right, so I wouldn't mind if I had a pair of 150s, but the 130s will do. So I can do a set of bent over dumbbell rows. Honestly, not my favorite row variation, but it is a variation. And I want to have variability to my training. You know, I'm not like, actually, I guess I am kind of thinking, you know, I want to shock the muscle. Maybe not like that. Like, I think it's getting like, you know, your fucking back isn't having the thought process, whoa, what the fuck is this? I've never done this before. But I mean, it just makes sense to do shit in different ways. So even though you might not like something, you know, fuck it, do it every so often. So I'm gonna play some Yeats and Playboy Cardi and throw the shit around. Okay. I don't want to do another one. I think that was a good set, you know, kind of a manhandling, throw it around type deal. I definitely feel some fucking fatigue in my traps. Let's do some cable rows. Not the whole stack, only about 2/3 of it. So I'm gonna be a lot more controlled and really try to fatigue myself with a burn rather than just like manhandling. Not that I think that doesn't work, but you know, I want to change it up. So I've been throwing some weight around for a while on back. Now I kind of want to do some squeezing shit. One more like that. Really trying to emphasize the stretch position there. But let's do, I don't know, let's do something. A lat bias for sure. I kind of have, I wouldn't call it a consistent relationship with the machine pullover. Some days I like it, some days I don't. I just did a feeler rep and I like it, you know? But if you can't feel your lats firing when you do it, like let's say your gym has this piece of equipment, don't just do it just because. Like, there's a badass clip of Dorian Yates doing a set of these. Don't just do it because he did it. Because if you can't actually feel like you're getting anything out of it, then you're just kind of doing it for no reason, you know? And sometimes I don't want to fucking do the pullover. I just can't feel it in my lats. But today I can, so let's throw the stack around for a couple. I love this buckle too. Okay. Oh. One more. It doesn't really get hard until right here. Like I almost feel like this is the real working action, and up here is just kind of to get a stretch. But one more. I definitely fucking feel my lats on fire. I'm gonna go a little bit lighter so I can do more complete reps. Because I feel like on this movement, really getting down here to this contracted section of the rep is gonna be important. Like for the most part, sometimes with pull downs or leg extensions or hamstring curls, I don't mind just doing partials. But for this machine, I don't really feel much of my lats during the partials. So, I want to get a complete rep like I would with cable chest flies. Because when I do bent over cable chest press, I don't really feel my chest down here. It's really burning when I get here. Right, so that's the action that I kind of want to emphasize. But one more, a bit lighter. Ask for. What? No Chick-fil-A? A lot of Chick-fil-A. That'll be me soon. All right. Okay, that's enough. Okay. I'd say the machine pullovers they're an acquired movement. It takes a little bit to get used to. So let's, what have we done so far? 2 sets of single arm pullovers, 1 set of dumbbell rows, 2 sets of cable rows, and 2 sets. I got 1 more set left and I'm done. I better choose carefully, but you'll see what I pick. I think a drop set of pull downs will be a perfect finisher. Okay, I lied. Fuck the drop set. That's enough. Lucky me, the posing room is empty. So let's see how that back pump ended up. Honestly, just as a subjective judge of the workout, that back day wasn't too insane. Like, the sets were pretty hard, but I really wasn't sure, like, throwing a crazy amount of weight around. But, I mean, I guess the pump is going to speak for itself. It's still pretty good. So, I don't know, it kind of goes to show, I don't think that you stimulate muscle growth purely from throwing around a ton of weight for low reps. I'm not a power lifter, but, moderate to as much weight as you can handle, 8 to 20 rep sets. That's some bread and butter for muscle growth, hypertrophy. So, let's see how we're looking. This lift is not complete. I still have rear delts and then calves, but I'm just going to do calves on my own. I'm not going to record it because it's just 8 sets of single leg calf raises. Nothing too insane. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, we got some veins popping out too. Yeah. Oh, I really want to bring in like a sticky pad mirror, just put on the wall with like a little adjustable arm, so I can actually see myself posing in the back. Because for one thing, then I can make sure my fucking arms are at the same height. But also, seeing your own reflection in person in your back, like, I don't know if you've ever been to a gym that has a dedicated posing room, but something about actually seeing it in person, I feel like I look way better than just on the camera. Or not bigger, not better, way bigger, like seeing the double reflection setup. So I'm gonna try to squeeze into this beater and then start my rear delt lift. Alright, so I would have preferred to start off with reverse pec deck, but it was taken. So instead I'll just do a substitution with bent over lateral raises. And with these, I can go pretty heavy. I mean, even though your rear delt is a small muscle, I mean, I'm still gonna throw the 50s around. You know, whatever kind of movement you want for any muscle, if you can feel a good contraction, then guess what? It's sweet. So they do look a little funky, I'll give you that, but I'm squeezing the hell out of my rear delts. So let's do a couple here. Yeah. Okay. Two more. Okay. Oh. Oh. Okay. That's enough. Let's do something else. Oh fuck. I just fucking pinched my hand. But I know, I was getting ready to say, fucking exercise machine companies are trying to reinvent the wheel by making these pec decks all extra fancy and new. I mean, what's the point when the best pec decks were like from the 90s, you know? Like there was an old one right here, and it's like just, that one was so much better than this. But that's just me being a hater. I'm still gonna be able to get a good rear delt pump in. I think I'm just gonna do one set, but I guess we'll see how it feels, you know? Oh, a little heavier. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Let's go do some leg baseballs. That felt pretty good, so I guess my whole point about them making them bad now is a little bit stupid, but for regular pec flies, I don't love this one. That's all I'm really trying to say. Oh, this has got to be my favorite rear delt movement. It's just laying face pulls. You know, relatively simple. Well, actually, no, that's not fucking true. Relatively complex. You know, if you just sort of jump onto this movement and all you're thinking about is trying to move the handle up and down, right, without actually trying to manually flex your rear delts, you're going to get a ton of trap activation, a ton of fucking bicep activation and forearm activation. I'm just trying to use, the only signals I'm trying to send to my fucking forearms from my brain are just to hold onto the handle for my fingers. And then the only other thing I'm trying to do is tell my rear delts to flex and then relax. You know, I don't want my traps to come into play. I don't want my biceps to do any of the pulling. I want to be all rear delts. You know, mind muscle connection style. And if you can't like perfectly isolate a muscle like that, don't worry too much. You kind of just learn it over time. Even I'm still going to feel a little bit of biceps and a little bit of traps and a little bit of forearms, but I try to get better at it as time progresses in my training. So I'm just going to record the one. I'm going to sit here for 4 and then we're going to check the rear delt pump. Okay. Actually, I lied. I'll just fucking splice through the next 4 sets. So with these, kind of similarly to those first 2 sets of single arm pull downs, the set isn't necessarily to like absolute mechanical failure. It's kind of just doing the reps until I can feel like, okay, that was good, you know. Now, that sounds pretty arbitrary. So make sure that, you know, when you do a set where you're just kind of like, you're not going to absolute failure, right? You know, if you went hard, you know, if you just do a set of like, let's say the equivalent of 5 reps when you could have done 20 here, and then you tell yourself, okay, that was good. I mean, that's pure delusion, right? But for the most part, even if you don't go to total failure, you know if you did a good set and if you really pushed yourself. So 3 more here, and then rear delt pump, check, and bound. So another little mental cue I think about is I'm not trying to pull the weight towards myself. In my mind, I'm almost imagining like if my arms are straight, I'm trying to just spread them apart. And then the fact that my hands are like locked in place, this action of spreading it apart ends up turning into a pulling it inwards, if you can imagine. Like my elbows move the same way, right? If I were to do those reverse pec decks again, all I'm doing is going from here to here. But now with the face pulls, even though it does look like a totally different movement, if you just analyze my fucking upper arm, it's doing the same thing, right? It's just going from here to here in just a slightly different way. But one more. All right. Let's find some good lighting, right? Yeah, this will work well enough right here. It's kind of cool looking. So, rear delts fully pumped. I probably got a little bit of the trap pump too, just because I can't do the rear delt flies or the face pulls or those bent over lateral raises without activating my traps a little. You know, even if I've got like, I would probably say a pretty reasonably developed mind muscle connection, like, you know, popping each pec and whatever other shit like that. But it's still, you know, I can't really do bench without going really light and not activate my triceps. It's just kind of part of it that your secondary muscle groups are going to get some activation. So it's really just up to you to try to improve that over time. So let's see. Yeah. Rear delt is fucking poking over the edge, as it should. As it freaking should. Let's just get fucking rear lat spread and then get out of here. There's really not much to see with the rear delts apart from just standing. You know, there's no rear delt spread or anything like that. Oh, I think you're good there. So I'm done. Well, not yet, actually. I'm going to go do calves. But for the lift that's going to get clipped, we're done. So I'm going to go home, eat some, probably some ground beef coupled with some pepper jack cheese slices. I prefer fat-free cheese, but the Kroger next to me doesn't have it. I didn't realize it was such a rare item, but what are you going to do? So the full fat cheese isn't too bad, but you definitely got to be careful with shit like that. You know, like the fats in cream cheese, it's shit that you might not totally expect to be packed with calories. That's where it'll fucking hit you. So if you're not careful with your food scale, you could think you're in a deficit, but you could be in a fucking surplus. But enough of rambling. Let's get in the car. All right. Back, rear delts, and a cheeky little calf pump complete. I'm freaking done for the day, man. It's kind of late, too. I was there yapping for a little while. So, current macros are 186 grams of protein for the day, 61 of fat, 90 of carbs. That means I've got some carbs left. Very nice. So, post-workout meal, I'm thinking, yeah, like I was saying, pound of ground beef, some cheese slices, and then I freaking whatever carb source I want. I don't know. I've got some of those Live Carb Smart bagels. Maybe I'll toast some of those and just kind of have them with the beef and cheese. That wouldn't be a terrible combination. I mean, I know it's a bagel, you know, typically you put like cream cheese on it or whatever, but you know, it's still just bread. It's just in a different fucking shape. So I love putting the beef and cheese mix on some low carb tortillas. That's probably what I wish I could do, but I don't have any at the house right now. I need to add that to the grocery list. Actually, I think I'm totally out of the Live Carb Smart buns too. Yeah, I gotta go back to Kroger. I'm not gonna do it tonight, but probably, let's say tomorrow. Let's say freaking tomorrow. So, other than that, man, I got nothing else to say, you know? Solid lift. I'm kind of glad I exercised some restraint with the weight for back. I can tell my left lat feels I can feel like a little something. Not that I'm like actually really worried about it. I felt like pretty strong. I didn't feel any kind of weirdness, but maybe I just had like a slight pull the last back day when maybe I went too heavy. You know, it's probably going to be in your best interest to stay on the cautionary side of, well, let's just say to exercise caution. You know, obviously don't go for a 1 rep max on a consistent basis unless you're a legit power lifter. But if you're if you're extra nervous for a really heavy set, like you're really pushing yourself for low, like 8, maybe even 7 reps, and something just feels a little bit off, right? When your spidey sense is tingling like that and you're like, oh, I don't know if my shoulder feels a little weird. Take a step back, try to kill your ego and go, okay, I'm probably gonna regret this if I continue on this little trajectory. So nothing wrong with going a bit lighter. I know that's kind of contradictory to what I usually, maybe not preach, but like what I usually show in my training. I usually try to push it as hard as I can. But that's coupled with, you know, a substantial warm up where I'm getting a good feel for for really just kind of how I feel. And I've got a pretty good gauge of how comfortable I'm going to be with a legit amount of weight. And if I think anything's out of order, I'm getting better at pumping the brakes. You know, the last thing you want to do is tweak something or really pull something unnecessarily, right? Not that you ever need to, but you get what I'm saying. You know, if you're doing something stupid and then you get hurt, guess what? Shame on you. Now, if you're doing something where you feel totally comfortable, you know, it's a weight you've handled before, and something just fucking happens, I mean, that's kind of the fucking risk of it, you know? If you want absolutely zero risk of not getting hurt, don't go to the freaking gym. Now, I'm not saying that you should try to get yourself hurt. That's fucking stupid. But, you know, you get what I'm saying, right? There's risk to this kind of shit. Not much if you're a responsible lifter, but, you know, whatever. So typically I don't really pull anything on back days, though. Really what gets me is occasionally pulling my hamstring every so often. Not as of late. Actually, not within even the last, like, while, like maybe 6-ish months. Actually, no, that's not even true. It's been approaching a year since I pulled my hamstring. So I guess I've been responsible in my hamstring training. But every so often I'll kind of tweak my shoulder a little bit, or I pulled my chest kind of good a while ago, and every like once in a blue moon I'll kind of flare it up just a touch. But that's only when I do something where I probably know in my mind I should have gone a little bit lighter. So, you know, if you can read the signs, then you know just how hard you can push it without going past this line into the danger zone. Into the freaking danger zone. That's not where you want to be. You know, you want to be close, right? You want to push yourself hard. You want to train hard. You want to train intensely, but not so much you freaking, you know, rip your shit, because that is not conducive with gains. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to optimize everything in my whole little lifting whatever to optimize the gains, right? So I'm gonna go home, eat some food. I've got some laundry in the dryer I'm gonna fold, and I'm actually gonna do it this time. And then nothing, man. We're just chilling for the next couple of days. I never really have a problem with trying to like deal with cheat days. Like, I know I'm not really in a super steep deficit, but in any deficit, you're definitely hungry throughout the day. So I still have to kind of counteract that with my mind and tell myself, okay, let's see. Do you, just kind of an observation of all aspects of life. pretty much everything that everybody does is just a balance of wants, right? It's an equilibrium of wants in your mind, right? In my mind, I want to eat 5 servings of Cinnamon Toast Crunch with 4 cups of whole milk at once. I think I would like how that feels. But I also want to get leaner. And I want to get leaner more than I want that bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, So if that's kind of difficult for you to balance, if it's hard for you to put the brakes on that kind of appetite, or like, I don't want to say desire, that sounds a little bit funky, but let's say urge, right? If it's hard for you to fight the urge to fucking eat sweet treats and whatever, then shit, man, you're just kind of out of luck, Like, some people just have a naturally higher metabolism, or actually, no. Some people have a naturally higher appetite, right? So for one dude, if he's even at maintenance calories, he could just kind of be prone to eating more, right? So a guy like that, it's probably going to be easier for him to get bigger, because for him, getting food, I was trying to say food and fuel at the same time. For him, getting fuel into his body, right? Eating a ton of food, it's not hard for him at all, man. Bulking for him is super easy. And for somebody else, eating in maintenance almost kind of feels like a chore. Like they're just not even that hungry. And that's a combination of like, hormones and glands and random, everybody loves blaming their pituitary, but whatever. Some people just have a naturally higher appetite. Some people don't, that's why some dudes just walk around like, maybe not with a massive amount of like muscle on their frame, but they're just kind of constantly shredded, right? Like that's somebody who just doesn't really have a huge appetite. So for them, staying in a deficit, staying nice and lean, no problem. But they've got it rough when it comes to trying to bulk up, because it's like they can say, dude, I'm eating so much food. But if you were to really kind of like peek over their shoulder for the whole day and plug in all the calories and macros that they're eating into the stupid, simple macro tracker, then you'd probably find out that they might just barely be eating maintenance, even though for them it feels like a lot. So, kind of fucking roll the dice, man. You got to be able to look at your own situation. And if for you, trimming down is hard, you got to fucking accept it, right? Accept the challenge and overcome it, right? Lose some body fat, get your abs poking out, try to see a new vein every so often. So that's done. And then if you're kind of a hard gainer, if you've just been maintaining the same frame just because it's hard for you to get food into your system, fucking start trying to find new ways to up your calorie intake, man. Make a protein shake with 5 Reese's cups mixed into it and throw that into a NutriBullet. That's a pretty solid shake. Drink your whole milk, right? Don't catch yourself drinking diet soda. Do a full soda, whatever. If you're not putting on body fat in too much excess, like if you're not seriously putting on adipose tissue, I think for you just got to get your calories in. So whether it's from sweet treats or, whatever, anything to make the scale change, it's kind of what you got to do. Sure, it's probably going to be fucking maybe a little bit of a better situation to do your chicken and rice and olive oil and your broccoli. And if you can bulk like that, fuck yeah, man, hit it. In no way am I trying to preach against that method. But, for me, I end up just eating all my treats. I do my cardio. I lift fucking hard. And what really kind of determines whether or not I'm going to keep eating like I have been on my bulks is whether or not I put on too much fucking fat. If I ate like I did on this whole bulk and I was like, I don't want to say fat as shit, but if I was like overly holding body fat that I really didn't need to, if I was bulking too hard, what's the point? I'm just giving myself more trouble for later, walking around at a body fat that I really just don't need to be in. But since I remain relatively lean, I'm going to keep eating my little treats. So if for whatever reason, I keep bulking like that and I get a little bit too soft, cut it back. But, I really kind of want to ingrain this into your mind. Calories are the number one factor that is going to determine how your body is composed. Now, couple that with weight training, right? Calories are going to determine whether or not you can gain muscle, and they're going to determine whether or not you can lose body fat. Well, actually, that's a little bit wrong. Gain muscle and body fat You know, it's impossible to do one without the other. But losing body fat in a cut, you're really just trying to maintain your muscle that you've already built. So, a little bit of a conclusive statement. If you can't seem to lose body fat, you're eating too freaking much. And if you can't seem to gain weight, you're eating too little. You know, I was just talking to a dude and he's telling me, you know, what's a good bulking food? And I was like, you know, whatever you like to eat, right? Whatever you can eat where it's no problem for you to get a ton of calories in, that's what you got to do, man, you know? So make sure you get your gram per pound of protein, right? And maybe try to stick towards more so, geez, I forget whether you want saturated or unsaturated fats. I don't know. Look it up, right? But I definitely think some animal fats are going to do you some good. Healthy cholesterol and whatnot, omega-3s, egg yolks, fish oil, you know, whatever. Just honestly, in terms of supplementation when it comes to the vitamins and the fish oil and stuff, I'm going on a little bit of a dieting tangent now. Just look up fucking, you know, top 10 vitamins for bodybuilding. Or top 10 vitamins for muscle gain. You know, it'll hit you with fucking magnesium, zinc, potassium, calcium, B12, B complex, all sorts of. Honestly, I mean, I've got a whole stack of vitamins because I'm trying to take all sorts of random, like make sure I'm completely saturated in all my little whatevers and I don't have any deficiencies. But, you know, get your multivitamin and take a couple fish oil before you go to bed. That's gonna make you feel a bit better than not doing any of that at all. You know, and I get a lot of flack when I say, you know, I take my vitamins and I justify it by saying I want to fill in deficiencies that I have in my diet. Because the classic comment is like, you should be getting all your micronutrients from a well-balanced diet. You know what, man? Do it. But that's just how I've been running it. You know, I don't really determine what foods to eat based on their micronutrient density. I'm really looking at it like, holy crap, dude. This fucking ice cream sandwich has 50 grams of carbs in it each, and it doesn't even fill me up. All right, that's going on the grocery list. You know, shit like that. You know, so when it comes to food choices, though, I will say I've been doing a ton of red meat. Like a lot of my protein intake has been from steaks, from ground beef, a little bit of protein shakes every so often, and some egg whites. And I have been feeling pretty good, pretty freaking good. So I'm starting to think that the red meat, there's a little something to that with the fucking micronutrients and everything else. You know, we've seen all the carnivore guys preaching the carnivore diet. I may not take it that far, but I think they're onto something. You know, get your protein in. There's a reason why, you know, people conventionally would call a masculine dude from like the 60s, you know, they'd say it's like masculine to eat a steak and stuff. You know, it probably correlates with bigger, beefier dudes. So, you know, if I were to give you a recommendation, you know, obviously eat your calories depending on whether you're trying to bulk or cut. But I think some red meat's going to be good for you. But that's not based on scientific studies and research and whatever. That's kind of just me saying a little something. So don't take that as like the golden rule. You know, a lot of the stuff that I say is kind of, I'm really just sort of saying it to myself, but I'm just speaking it out loud. So another week-ish of trimming down, and then I'm getting excited to bulk up. I'm getting freaking excited. Oh my gosh. I got these little wafer like rods from, I don't remember it was either a Kroger or a Walmart. I don't remember. It was these wafer rods. So it's like a wafer cookie, but kind of like it looks like an old cereal straw. You remember that from fucking like the 2010s? I got 3 packs of them sitting on top of my fridge. 1 vanilla, 1 chocolate, and 1 dark chocolate. And I'm just waiting to bust into them. But I'm not just going to do it right now. I'm just not going to jump the gun. Good things come to those who wait. So I'll hold my appetite at bay. Get a little, just maybe a touch leaner over this next week. Probably not that much. I mean, just maybe like a little bit. And then we can get back to weight gain. You know, I like them both. You got to take one with the other. but I think I probably enjoy the process of gaining muscle on the bulk than maintaining it on the cut. Because even though I am making progress, I am taking off some of the excess body fat I put on and resensitizing my appetite so I can eat more on the next bulk, I kind of feel like I'm standing still in a sense on the cut. I feel like for me in my mind, I probably correlate progress with the the amount of beef I've got on my frame. So for me to get bigger month by month on the bulk, it satisfies something in my noggin. So gonna go home, eat my little meal, watch some more. Dude, I don't know what to watch, man. I've watched so much stuff. I've got some shit on the agenda, but I haven't really pulled the trigger on starting any of it. I like some clips of What We Do in the Shadows. That's pretty funny. I know The Sopranos is great. I know Game of Thrones is great. Other stuff like that, man. They're floating around in my mind, but I just can't really lock into one show. I feel like I keep rewatching stuff I've already seen. That's all I got, yo. We covered a couple of good topics in this little car talk, so have a good lift tomorrow, or maybe have a good lift in an hour if you're watching this pre-lift, or maybe pick up the slack, go hard on this next set if you're watching this mid-lift. And if you're watching this post-lift, then, hey man, that was a badass pump. I saw that vein. Poking out. Yeah, that was fucking sick. All right. I think we've had enough. Let's, you do whatever you're doing at this current moment in time. But I'm going to get my ass ready for bed. So, I will see you next time.